Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always is no one because Mike's not here. I've decided to go ahead and go rogue and do my own little short 15 to 20 minute episode this morning to recap that wild card series. I'm so elated. I'm so excited about the prospect of the Royals winning a wild card series and playing in the ALDS that I'm decided to go rogue here and kick Mike off the show for a morning and post a show on Thursday morning for everyone, not just for our Substack subscribers. We do have an episode up on Substack as well for those of you who want to hear that. royalsweekly.substack.com. Become a subscriber and you'll get an extra episode every single week. But for today, I'm going to go ahead and put out a short recap of the wild card series and talk a little bit about what we're facing against the New York Yankees in the divisional series. So thank you so much for joining us, Weekly Weirdos. We really appreciate it. Mike and I did a live watch along last night for Game 2 of the wild card series. We had a bunch of people join us in the chat with us on YouTube. It was really great. We had a lot of fun doing it. So thank you to everyone who joined us for that. We really had a blast. Some old friends, some very old friends, some friends we've had since we were very young. Our mother joined in. So the famous Cheryl Mead, who you all heard about, joined in on the chat and had some things to say about, flipping SUVs, bending steel bars, that sort of stuff. That stuff that she does. But thank you so much for joining us today and every week. We're going to try and put as much content as we can while the Royals are on this magical playoff run here. I want to talk a little bit about, I think the thing that has to get the most attention about this wild card series is, of course, the pitching. The pitching will be the entire reason that the Royals won these two games. Anytime you win a 3-game series, what ends up just being 2 games because they swept, but anytime you win 2 games in a row and you score 3 runs total in those 2 games, it's going to be a story about the pitching. And so we have to talk significantly about that. I think the bullpen ultimately ends up being a big part of the story because the bullpen struggled for so long for the Royals this year, especially basically the first 5 months of the season, and then really only started picking it up in September. And it wasn't just a story of adding guys, because you'll remember they added Hunter Harvey and Lucas Erceg. Erceg's been great for them, but Harvey has not and is in fact injured and probably won't pitch for the rest of this season. And yet this bullpen has improved dramatically in large part because of other guys. So getting Chris Bubich back was big. Sam Long, who the Royals signed to start the year but was in the minor leagues because he was on a minor league contract, he came in. And those three especially have really created a 3-headed monster at the back of the Royals bullpen. Is it as good as HDH was? No, probably not. But it is very, very good. 3-headed monster at the back of the bullpen. It is a very, very good 7, 8, 9 lineup there to face to close out a game for the Royals that really put the 2 games of this wild card series to bed. Both of them did, right? And so Sam Long, Chris Bubich, and Lucas Erceg. And the interesting thing about them is it's really unusual to see so many lefties have such a big role at the back end of bullpens. Usually it's righties who are these big time closers, big time setup men, that sort of thing. And the whole reason for that is because there are more right-handed hitters than left-handed hitters. And so typically right-handed hitters or right-handed pitchers are more likely to do better against right-handed hitters. And so you see your big-time high-leverage relievers typically are right-handed guys. Now we see some exceptions to that. Billy Wagner was a great closer for numerous years, left-handed reliever. But for the most part, your big-time, big-money relievers are right-handed. Aroldis Chapman is another good example, left-handed reliever. But what I find so interesting is the ways in which they put together this bullpen as much as anything. So you have Sam Long, a minor league contract, a non-roster invitee coming into the year. He has come out and had the best year of his career. And you need that as a team if you're going to construct a bullpen. You need some guys to just have the best years of their careers. And Sam Long is doing that. And then Bubich, coming off of Tommy John surgery, former starter, has been effective out of the bullpen in the past in his career, is coming in. And not only is he playing a role in the bullpen, he's playing a very important role in the bullpen, right? He is their 8th-inning guy, if we can put people into those roles. I know that Quintero likes to play matchups and thinks of leverage differently, which I love. But he is their number 2 reliever, and it is hugely important that he is having as much success as he's having. And it's on the back of command and a fastball that has more rise to it than it used to, and mixing in changeups, but also throwing in sliders and watching him have command immediately coming back off of Tommy John surgery, I think is really impressive because a lot of times it's tough for guys to find their command after that. But it's also gives me a lot of hope that if the team thinks it's best, he might transition back to the rotation a little bit more smoothly because he's gotten the experience, because he's pitching in competitive games, and I think that will ultimately benefit him as he moves forward. And then Lucas Erceg, I mean, what could you say about what he's done? I mean, it's just incredible. The stuff is incredible. Watching him throw 4 high quality pitches up there, very very impressive. It's interesting to me that he's been even better with the Royals than he was with the A's. And the Royals gave him an opportunity to be the number one guy out of a bullpen, and he came in with his dynamite stuff. I think he's locating the ball a little bit better than he was with the A's. I think he's got a better pitch mix and a better plan with the Royals than he did with the A's, and that goes all to Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove credit. Sorry, that's my phone going off. Let's stop that. Yep, was supposed to wake up right now, but instead I'm already up just doing work, just grinding to create content for the weirdos. So yeah, the bullpen, at least in the back three, has been phenomenal. But we also have to talk a little bit about the non-back three, because if you recall from Monday's episode, one of the things we talked about as the keys is what will the guys before Lucas Erceg and Chris Bubic and what's his name? Sam Long do? What will the bridge guys do? And I'm talking about the Angel Zerpas, the John Schreibers, the Daniel Lynches, the Brady Singers, and Michael Lorenzen, since they're throwing out of the bullpen right now. And we saw nothing but fantastic pitching from Angel Zerpa and John Schreiber in Game 2 last night. Zerpa continues to be an amazing story. Ever since he came back in September, there are a few things that I think are key factors to his big time success. One, that velocity he's now sitting 97, 98. Let me pull up the info from last night. I got to take a look and see what his average velocity was, because I think it was probably pretty impressive. On his sinker, his average velocity was 97.8 miles an hour. So he was almost averaging 98 miles an hour for every sinker he threw. Interestingly, his slider was his number 2 pitch. Saw a ton of great break on it, and he was throwing it 85 as an average, 87 as a high. A guy who was just mixing in sliders and sinkers. It looks like he's become a sinker slider pitcher. I doubt they'll ever transition him back to the rotation. He is still very young, but man, what a weapon he has become as a reliever. Came in like such a crucial situation too. Talk about a high leverage moment. He comes in with like the bases loaded and nobody out, or the bases loaded and 1 out, something like that. They desperately need him to get out of that situation. He gets a strikeout and a ground ball and gets out of it. Insane to me how effective he was and how effective he has been over the course of the last month. I'm trying to bring up real quick just the breakdown of what the situation was when he came in. It was pretty bad, I'm pretty sure. If we look at, there he is. Angel Zerpa comes up. Yeah, bases loaded, 1 out. And he gets a very important out here. And ultimately, that ends up sealing that moment, because we know that at that moment, it looked very much like a tie game, 1-1. Lugo had given up the home run. It looked like, oh my gosh, they're going to have a real inning here. The Orioles are going to have an inning. Zerpa comes in, closes the door, and all of a sudden the momentum looks like right back on the Royal side. And then they come out the very next inning and they get 1 more run, and it's like, okay, we're back ahead, reset everything. And then Sam Long comes in, does his job. Bubic, Erceg. So we created that bridge to the back end using Zerpa and Schreiber. And Schreiber also, we got to give him props, because he came back from injury in September. Arm looked more rested. Looks like he could clean up a few of his mechanical things that were causing issues. And not only is he back to the form that he was in to start the year, he's back in the form that he was in last year when he was striking more guys out. I mentioned earlier in the year that he had trouble striking guys out this year, whereas last year he was striking out 10 guys per 9 innings. He was getting some ground balls and stuff, but he wasn't striking guys out this year. Now he's striking guys out. His stuff looked better last night than I've ever seen it. He was fastball sitting in the 94, 95 range. Looks like he averaged 95 on his fastball, up 2 miles an hour, or up 2 miles an hour on the year. His average fastball this year, 92.9. His average fastball yesterday, 94.9. He was electric coming out of the bullpen. The sweeper was great. He was just really in control of everything he was doing. And as a result, they created this nice bridge to Long, Bubic, and Ursic. And all of us, that game was put to bed. You just really feel much more confident in this bullpen now, thanks to some really improved play from guys like Zerpa, Schreiber, and improvement from Lynch and some of the others as well. That has really just made the difference. And kudos to JJ Piccolo, kudos to Matt Quatraro, kudos to Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove, who have worked all season long to do their role in shaping this into a good bullpen. It's Piccolo's job to get good relievers in there, and we've seen him do that. It's Quatraro's job to use them correctly, to find the right role for them. And it's Sweeney and it's Bove's job to help make them better as players. And you're seeing that happen. All three phases of those roles are just hitting all the time. And so it's really amazing when you think about all the things that had to go right to make this bullpen better. They have, and it's in large part because the people leading this team know what they're doing. We also have to talk a little bit about defense, because it was pitching and defense that's part of run prevention that ended up winning the series. And oddly, it might have been defense that caused the most important play in this game. And I'm talking about Michael Massey's diving stop at second when we had that bases loaded situation, or when the bases were crowded, we'll say. I don't know if they were loaded at that time. No, they because it didn't end up scoring a run. But I think they had guy on first and second. Somebody hits a ground ball to Massey pretty hard. He has to dive to make the play, and Massey very wisely decides not to get up and try and get the out at second. He just turns to first and gets the out there, understanding that it's far more important that we get an out right now than it is that we try and get this double play and that sort of thing. And ultimately he gets the out, and ultimately they don't end up getting any runs from that situation. That play from Massey was not only a great stop, it was just a very wise, and we've seen him make the opposite choice in previous instances where he tries to go to second there. It doesn't work out. Something happens poorly. He didn't do that. He just turned to first calmly and got the out he could get. That's so important in the playoffs when the pressure is on you, when every mistake pays double. It's so important to make those sound mental decisions, because that ultimately ends up being, the biggest play of the game. I think in my mind, that was the biggest play in the game yesterday. And it was great to see that. We also saw some great defense from MJ Melendez out in left field. Got hit a ball that was essentially going to fall right at the base of the wall. He runs a very long way to get to it, tracks it down, catches it, and runs into the wall. That would have been a leadoff double for whoever hit it. I forget who put that ball in play, but instead of having a guy on second with nobody out, the Royals have one out and nobody on. And MJ had made a defensive mistake in game one, and a lot of people were screaming, hey, why is he even in the lineup for game two? Made that defensive mistake, didn't get any hits in game one. They were very down on MJ, which people are very quick to do. But then he comes out, makes that great defensive play. He has a hit in the game yesterday. And, people are less chirping on MJ. And I'm like, you have to understand that Quatraro doesn't make decisions in the lineup day to day. It's not like, oh man, Quatraro is a numbers guy. And so if the numbers tell him that this guy hits righties better, he's going to put that guy in, right? Like if the numbers tell him that he's not horrific defensively, he just made a mistake yesterday, he's going to put that guy in, right? Like it's not going to be one of these reactionary moments of, oh, every day I'm pulling guys for mistakes and it doesn't work like that, right? Managers know that in baseball, you have to give guys a much longer leash or you're going to completely destroy their confidence, right? And so good on Matt Quatraro to not be reactionary there, to go with the guy who gives you the best chance. And I thought that he and Renfroe did give them the best chance in left and right field. Maybe those guys didn't give Renfroe didn't end up giving as much offensive production as I'd hoped he would, but good on MJ making that play, and good on MJ getting a base hit yesterday. Hopefully that turns into some more success because he's going to see more right-handed pitching as the playoffs continue. The offense. Well, the offense, not great these two games. Now they were facing two really good pitchers, but let's be frank, they're not going to face any bad pitchers in this playoffs. And so you gotta produce some runs against good pitching as well. It was better. I hesitate to say it was better yesterday than it was in game one. They did end up with one, two, let's see how many hits they have. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. They ended up with 9 hits, which is pretty good. They were kind of scattered across some different innings, and that didn't help. Bobby and Vinny were both hitting. Vinny had 2 hits. Bobby had 2 hits. I'm still waiting to see some extra base hit production. The Royals had only 1 extra base hit in both of these games, and that was the leadoff double from Michael Massey in game 2. So, it's not great right now, and they've had some opportunities. Let's not pretend that they did. Eflin did not pitch well yesterday. Zach Eflin did not pitch well. He's actually lucky to get out of it just giving up 1 run. He pitched 4 innings, gave up 1 run. He should have given up more. I can think of multiple pitches thrown to guys, a cutter right down Broadway thrown to Vinny, a slider right down Broadway thrown to Renfroe, another slider thrown right down Broadway to MJ Melendez. All pitches that should have had some serious damage done to them. I can think of another pitch that was thrown to Bobby, too, that was very hittable that he did not swing at. A lot of pitches that Eflin was throwing that really could have been hit. The Royals just weren't on top of them. They fouled them off, or they didn't swing, or they swung and missed. Mostly fouled them off. But if they can find that groove, they're just not in the groove right now. If they can find that groove and start taking advantage of those pitches, they'll maybe score a few more runs, but they need to get on top of it because the guys they're going to be facing moving forward, they're not going to leave too many pitches over the heart of the plate. Let's think a little bit about that Yankee series. The Royals will go to New York for game 1. I think that's on Saturday. So because they have such a long break, they'll have today off, they'll have Friday off, and then they'll play Saturday. Because that break is so long, there's a chance that the Royals could set up their rotation as Waka on Saturday, Reagan's on Monday, because they have this game 2 is on Monday, and then Lugo on Tuesday. So to run we'll pitch Waka and we'll go right back to the top of this 3-man rotation. That is possible. I've seen some people out there think that they might go Waka, then Lugo, then Reagans. That would put Lugo on regular rest. I'm not sure that I would do that. I think, first off, if they're playing game 2, in New York, I would rather have Reagans there than Lugo. I think that Reagans is more well-suited for that ballpark because he's left-handed, because it's going to be difficult to get around on his fastball, because he'll be able to stay away from that really short porch in right field better, especially from their left-handed power guys. So their left-handed power guys like Juan Soto are going to have a harder time against Reagans than they are against Seth Lugo. They're going to have a harder time pulling Reagans than they are going to have pulling Lugo. And so I would prefer to have Reagans go in game 2 than Lugo. We'll see on that one. It looks like, yes, they're going to be in New York for the first 2 and then coming back to Kansas City for the third game. Third game will be on Wednesday. Boy, these games are really spread out. So game 1 is Saturday, game 2 is Monday, and game 3 is Wednesday. So they have a day off in between the first 3 games. They could basically throw out whatever pitchers they want in these first 3, but it probably will be either Waka, Reagans, and Lugo, or Waka, Lugo, and Reagans. I just can't imagine they'd want to push off Reagans all the way to game 3. I imagine it'll be Waka, Reagans, and Lugo. And in the Yankees, you have quite a different team than the Orioles. The Orioles, we talked about their lineup being deep, top to bottom, right? It was one of those really deep lineups with guys like, I mean, you saw Cedric Mullins, their 8-9 hitter. He had the most success of anybody on their team during that series. But you also saw Urias down there and just really good hitters down near the bottom of their lineup. The Yankees are much more top heavy. They have Aaron Judge, they have Juan Soto, they have Giancarlo Stanton, but down at the bottom of their lineup, you see a lot more 80 to 85 OPS pluses than you do in that Orioles lineup. And so while Aaron Judge is the best hitter in baseball and Juan Soto is one of the other best hitters in baseball, once you get past those two, you get a couple good hitters here and there, and then it starts to fall off pretty quickly. It'll be up to the Royals to make sure that they can navigate the heart of that lineup really effectively. It'll also be up to the Royals to understand matchups really, really well. And so when it gets to bullpen time, they'll be matching up against Soto and Judge as best they can. Also, it'll be interesting to keep an eye out for who the Yankees look like they're going to start in those games, because the Yankees have had sort of a hodgepodge of starting pitching this year, and so they have a lot of options for starters in those games. Yeah, right now they have Garrett Cole listed as their game one starter. So 33-year-old right-handed pitcher has been hurt for a significant portion of this season, so he hasn't thrown a full season yet. But he, of course, has a very great track record in his career of success. That's a righty. Royals do better against righties than lefties, so that's a decent. It's not a great matchup because Garrett Cole's just great. In Game 2, it looks like they're scheduled to throw Carlos Rodon. We've seen a lot of Rodon in Kansas City. We saw him a bunch with the White Sox. We've seen him this year. We saw him last year. You might remember a game right at the end of the year where the Royals just completely lit him up last year. He was not having a good year last year. He's having a decent year this year, but it's not great. And so we'll see how he looks facing the Royals at Yankee Stadium. My guess is they want Rodon in Game 2 because of the left-handed thing. So they're probably trying to, one, the Royals are less effective against lefties, but they're also probably trying to neutralize any left-handed power the Royals might put out there with Vinny Pasquantino and MJ Melendez and guys like that. Michael Massey, who kills at Yankee Stadium. And then in Game 3, they don't have a starter announced yet. So we'll see who they end up throwing out there. The Yankees are a very good team. That's why they got the bye. But we'll be taking a look to see if what the rust level looks like, who they end up throwing out there, and all that sort of stuff. All right, that's all I have for you. Make sure to tune in to our Monday broadcast. Thank you for joining us at Royals Weekly, presented by Bet Online. We'll have an episode out on Monday. We'll have another episode out midweek on our Substack, so make sure to look into that, royalsweekly.substack.com. A $5 subscription gets you an extra episode every single week and an article every week. So that article will be coming out on Sunday as well. And so check that out if you're interested. Thank you so much for joining us. Be good to each other and go Royals.